Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy, Adam DTF, back again with another video. And today, I want to take a look at some of my favorite player props on PrizePicks for the Week 2, Sunday, September 18th slate of games. This is just some of the ones that I've looked at here the past day or two that I have a lot of confidence in. As with fantasy football, picking your props and making bets, you're playing probability. And so some of these player props I'm going to go over, I feel have a high probability of hitting. But, first of all, I'd like to state that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not me telling you what to bet, how to bet. I'm not giving you any advice whatsoever. This is just me taking a look at what PrizePicks has going on and sharing what I'm thinking about playing for myself. Whatever you do, that's up to you. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the video. Trying out a little bit of a format change with a little background music going, so hopefully that comes across well. Also, would like to apologize. I know there's some feedback with my current microphone, and there's not really anything I can do about it until I'm able to get a new microphone set up. So please excuse and forgive the slight buzzing sound that is in the background. But yeah, let's dive right in. So for the first player prop that I really like, it's this one right here, man. Carson Wentz for 200. Let's unselect him. So yeah, Carson Wentz for 239.5 passing yards. I really like the over on this one. Last week he went off in Jacksonville, throwing for 313 yards, 4 touchdowns. I could see this being another day where Carson Wentz goes at least 240. I'm not scared of the Detroit Lions defense. He has a lot of weapons. Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson getting lots of targets and catches last week. J.D. McKissick. Logan Thomas is still there, in the tight end room. So he has options. And I don't think the Detroit Lions have the answer to stop all of those weapons. Sure, they have Aiden Hutchinson applying some pressure. I won't be surprised if Hutch gets a sack or two in this game, or, is a big part of causing Carson Wentz to have some QB hurries. But I have a lot of confidence that Carson Wentz could be at least halfway, if not more, to this entire prop total by the end of the first half, in all honesty. So that is definitely one that I would not mind going with, taking the over on that one. Okay, now the second player prop I'd like to bring to your attention is another quarterback, and he's right here, Matt Ryan, for 220.5 projected passing yards. I like the over on this one. I mean, we see what he did last week against Houston, 352 yards, and I know they went to overtime, so they played 5 quarters, but even before they went to overtime, Matt Ryan still blew past his projected player prop last week, which I believe was 238.5 passing yards. He was over halfway there at the end of the first half. Jacksonville's defense is about on par with the Houston Texans defense in terms of they are one of the worst in the league, and I do not think that they can stop the weapons of the Indianapolis Colts. One thing to keep an eye on for sure is if Michael Pittman ends up playing. Last I checked, he was questionable. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to shake out. I really hope that Pittman ends up playing because I have Pittman on more than one fantasy team. So for my own selfish interest, I need him to play so I can have bragging rights over my friends and beat them. But yeah, Matt Ryan, 220.5 projected passing yards. I'm taking the over on that. I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, Matt Ryan's washed. He looked bad. Well, now that I'm actually checking, after just recommending all of this, what I just said, it looks like Michael Pittman is not going to play. Wow, he's out. Okay. So, man. I still kind of like this player prop for Matt Ryan, but it is a whole lot riskier now. Michael Pittman went over 100 yards last week. Got the touchdown. Yeah, this is definitely not what you want to see. Okay. We'll negate everything I just said. This may be a player prop that I still come back to, but there are a lot of unproven talents after Michael Pittman. So with no Michael Pittman, definitely have other ones that I like more than that Matt Ryan prop. That's unfortunate, man. That is really unfortunate. But while we're on the subject of ones I like more than the Matt Ryan prop, right here with Russell Wilson, 240.5 passing yards. Last week, I took this prop. I did a 5-pick spread for the Monday night game. Ended up winning $500 off of $50 bets. That was nice. And I took Russell Wilson's passing yards in that game. I took the over. And I think I'm going to do that again here. Because as we just looked with Matt Ryan went off for over 300 yards against the Houston Texans last week. There's no argument that at this stage in their careers, Russell Wilson is a more proficient quarterback than Matt Ryan. And that's no hate on Matt Ryan. I still think Matt Ryan has a lot of juice in the tank. I'm not on board with the Matt Ryan is washed narrative at this time. But yeah, Russell Wilson. He has more weapons. He's younger, better performance. So I like Russell Wilson to go over 240.5 passing yards against the Houston Texans. You know, they just lost an emotional game, barely, on Monday Night Football. I think the Denver Broncos are going to want to come out and prove something, prove that they are more than the debacle of the clock management at the end of that Monday Night Football game against the Seahawks. So for that reason, I hope Nathaniel Hackett steps back and just let Russ cook, baby. That's what you paid him the big bucks for. Let him go out there, sling the rock to Judy, Sutton, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, Albert O, and all the other pass catchers that are in this offense. Could be very good stuff. So yes, Russell Wilson, 240.5 passing yards. I'm taking the over on that. I kind of like this right here, Kirk Cousins. I kind of like Josh Allen's, but for now, I'm staying away from him. Now let's move over to some rushing yards props. And there are a few that I like here. Oh wow, the Tom Brady prop has changed. It was 0.5 rushing yards. Now it's 0. Kind of hard to bet on that one, right? But yes, got Mark Ingram up here. I'm guessing that means that Alvin Kamara is not playing. He's questionable. He's not expected to play. Okay. Staying away from that one. Not going to mess with it. This Michael Carter one, 40.5 rushing yards. Kind of like that. He got 60 yards last week against Baltimore. Baltimore has a pretty good defense. The Browns are a pretty good defense. It was a like 65-35 split for Michael Carter and Breece Hall. I expect that to continue because, I mean, it's not like Michael Carter did anything to warrant taking away touches. I do think that as the season goes on, Breece Hall will start eating in more and more because I think Breece Hall is the more talented back. But we saw how things worked out last week with Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead, so we need to pump our brakes a little bit. These rookies aren't going to come in and just supplant these starters, these veterans. But yeah, this is a player prop that I might consider taking right here. But in that same game, Nick Chubb for 81.5 rushing yards. I'm definitely smashing the over on this one. I really like it. Last week, Nick Chubb totally owned Carolina. 141 rushing yards. Yes, Kareem Hunt vultured 2 touchdown opportunities. That I wish I'd have gone Nick Chubb's way. As long as Kareem Hunt is there is that cap to Nick Chubb's ceiling, especially his touchdown potential. But the New York Jets do not have the firepower to stop this run attack. Nick Chubb is too talented of a power workhorse back. And Kareem Hunt as well is too talented of a running back for them to be able to stop. We saw the gameplay with Jacoby Brissett last week. It left a lot to be desired. So if I'm the Browns coaching staff, I want to try to run this ball on first and second down and third down, possibly to let Jacoby Brissett throw as little as possible. And a team like the New York Jets, with their defense how it is right now, you could totally run down their throat all game. I expect the Browns to take a nice, sizable lead and have them just run with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Speaking of, the Kareem Hunt player prop, 37.5 projected rushing yards. That could be a nice one to take the over on as well. But I'm more confident in Nick Chubb because, I mean, Nick Chubb is the kind of guy, he gets to the second level on a rush attempt and he'll break off a 40-50 yard run. Easy. I would not be surprised if Nick Chubb hits this within the first half of the game. Moving on to more rushing player props. James Robinson for 47.5 rushing yards. I actually like this one right here. I know the Colts defense is supposed to be one of the best in the league, but they sure didn't play like it last week because there's no way that the Houston Texans should have been in that game to possibly win it. And, you know, we can make the arguments of maybe that's more on the offense, not scoring more points, but I really did not expect Houston to throw up 20 points on the Colts. Maybe 14, but not 20. So, with that being said, and Shaquille Barrett still not making his season debut yet, I think the Colts have a couple other defensive players that are dinged up. Not sure if they're going to be missing the game, but I do think that this is a achievable rushing yard total for James Robinson in this game. 48 yards. I'm taking the over on this one. Travis Etienne, I don't expect him to be as much of a non-factor like he was in week 1 for the entire season. But for right now, James Robinson is obviously, you know, this is still his backfield, in my opinion. So we're going to take the over on that right there. And especially with no Michael Pittman playing in this game, the Colts might struggle to throw up points. You know, I expect it to be the Jonathan Taylor show, and that's probably why Jonathan Taylor's rushing yards have shot up to 108.5 when they were, I believe, 98.5 before the news of Michael Pittman being a no-go for this game, so that shows right there that Vegas also expects them to have to run the ball a whole lot more. I expect a lot of Jonathan Taylor catching passes as well. We all know that Matt Ryan loves to do some dump-offs to his running backs, so expect some Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines probably as the best options in this game right here. But with that being said, that could allow Jacksonville to try to load the box, try to limit Jonathan Taylor. So I think the game's going to be closer than we expect, at least initially, looking at it on this slate. And if it's closer for 3 quarters instead of just 1 quarter or 2 quarters, that's more rushing opportunities for James Robinson. Here are 2 more rushing yard props that I really like. Cordero Patterson, 47.5 rushing yards. Last week, he totally ate on the New Orleans Saints, 120 rushing yards. I honestly would like to take the over on this one. I know they're facing the Rams. The Rams are going to be hot. They lost the season opener. They lost the NFL opener. Primetime television got embarrassed by the Bills. Was that because of elite offense from the Bills, or is this defense not as good as we expected it to be this year? Either way, New Orleans Saints were supposed to have one of the better defenses in the league, and Cordero Patterson and Marcus Mariota ran all over them. Marcus Mariota went off for over 70 yards. So I'm not too worried about the Rams keeping Cordero Patterson from getting 48 rushing yards. I mean, Devin Singletary got, I believe, 33 yards by himself, and Devin Singletary is not as good of a NFL player as Cordero Patterson. No hate to Devin Singletary, you know, he does his role, but Cordero Patterson is definitely way more dynamic of a player and a talent than Devin Singletary. So, that being said, I'll take the over on Cordero Patterson for 47.5 rush yards. This Darrell Henderson one is also another good one, 59.5 rush yards, because they're playing the Atlanta Falcons defense. That's a whole lot different than Buffalo. And even, you know, Buffalo being the number 1 defense, hands down in the league, as of right now. He still was able to throw up 47 rushing yards. I think he'll hit this number easy. I don't expect Cam Akers to be sprinkled in at all to try to take away from this yardage total, especially hearing Sean McVay talking to the media. His crypticness of his displeasure with some of the things that Cam Akers has been doing, so it sounds like there's some things they're not happy with in practice. This could be a player prop. This will be a player prop that I'll put on a spread. I'm going to do a few spreads. So, Darrell Henderson, 59.5 rushing yards. I'm taking the over. I think he'll get 60 yards easy. I mean, you know, I love the Falcons. I grew up in Georgia. I've lived in Georgia most of my life. You know, growing up into my adult life, you know, only recently have I not lived in Georgia over these past couple of years. But I will always be a Falcons fan, but I'm also realistic, and the Falcons defense is going to have a hard time stopping the offense of the Los Angeles Rams. Another rushing prop that I like is Trey Lance for 42.5 rush yards. Last week, he put up 54 rush yards in Chicago during the Monsoon Bowl. And the weather in San Francisco for tomorrow is a 90% chance of rain from noon to 8 p.m. pretty much. So this is very likely another game where it's going to be raining. And if it's going to be raining, the quarterbacks will not be throwing the ball as much. If they're not throwing the ball, they're going to be handing off to running backs, and they're going to be running it themselves if they're running QBs. With Elijah Mitchell hurt, we got Jeff Wilson Jr. stepping in to the starting role. But even with Wilson, I still think Trey Lance is going to be running the ball, as well as Deebo Samuel. I like Deebo Samuel's prop. 36.5 rushing yards against the Seahawks. These are two, Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel. I'm comfortable taking the overs on both of these. I mean, Deebo is so dynamic. 2 or 3 runs out of the backfield, and he can get this easy. I mean, he can get over half of it on one run. Trey Lance, I expect a lot of running from him because until he proves it with his arm in consecutive games, multiple games, I'm still not sold on the Trey Lance show yet. And if they don't win that game tomorrow, Jimmy Garoppolo's still in the building. It's going to be a lot of talk going into week 3 about should Jimmy Garoppolo be leading this offense still. Looking at the rest of these rushing props, I like Joe Mixon for 70.5 yards against Dallas. I mean, we just saw last week Leonard Fournette go off for over 100 yards on them. And Tampa Bay's pass catchers are in worse shape than Cincinnati's right now. So with Cincinnati coming in with more talent, or more healthy talent rather, I think they'll have an even easier time running the ball. Joe Mixon, he's a great running back. You know, it's just as good as Leonard Fournette, if not better. So I can easily see Joe Mixon going over 70.5 rushing yards. He put up 82 last week. And the Steelers' defense is really good. Dallas' defense is not as good as the Steelers' defense. So if he can do that against the Steelers, then I think he can at least throw up 71 yards against Dallas. So this is another player prop that I will be taking the over on. And scrolling and looking at the last bit. Yeah, these are all the rushing player props that I'm really feeling at this moment. So now, let's go look at this receiving yards, baby. Let me also check the time of this video. I do not want this video to be too long. We're already at 22 minutes. Let me hurry it up here. Okay. There are a handful of receiving yard props that I am a fan of. One of the first ones, Pat Freiermuth for 35.5 receiving yards. I like the over on this one. I mean, look what he did last week. 75 receiving yards against Cincinnati. In the preseason, he got 45 yards, 35 yards. So, Freiermuth, he is one of the main targets in this offense, despite the wealth of wide receiving talent that they have there, and running back talent as well, and that's what I like to see. Mitch Trubisky looked his way a lot last week. I don't expect that to change this week. I can easily see Pat Freiermuth getting 36 yards or more in this game. I could easily see him having this in the first quarter, honestly. So this is one of the main ones I'm going to be smashing the over on. Pat Freiermuth, 35.5 receiving yards, smashing the over all day. Another one that I really like, and I haven't seen anyone talk about, is Ramondre Stevenson for 13.5 receiving yards. Now, there's no Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery is on IR. We all thought that Ramondre Stevenson had a great shot after we heard about James White's retirement of taking over being that pass-catching back. Then, of course, Ty Montgomery came in, had a lot of action in week 1, and that kind of messed things up. And now he's hurt, and he's gone. So, this is the week right here. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen now. Ramondre Stevenson. There's a lot of questions in this Patriots, not only Patriots backfield, but Patriots in general. Got Mac Jones playing hurt. The coaching staff is a mess. We don't have coaches who have the right offensive mind. So this, to some people, might be a bit of a risky play, but I think that Ramondre Stevenson is going to go over 13.5 receiving yards this week. You'll have to put this next pick in a different spread because this is also a Ramondre Stevenson call. But let's hop out of receiving yards for just a second and go over to receptions, because while on the topic of Ramondre Stevenson's receiving yards, I also love Ramondre Stevenson's receptions prop for 2 receptions. Even with Ty Montgomery in the offense last week, getting all of that pass catching work, Ramondre Stevenson still had 2 receptions. Now, let me look here on my other screen. Hold on just one second. So I want to give some accurate information. So Ty Montgomery had 4 targets last week. He caught 3 of them for 15 yards and a touchdown. Also carried twice. So even with their main pass catching back and Ty Montgomery getting 4 targets last week, Ramondre Stevenson still ended up with 2 catches. Let me see here. 2 catches on 2 targets. Yeah, man. I think Ramondre Stevenson is easily going to get 4 or 5 targets this game. He's going to turn those, little little screens, little dump offs. He can easily turn that, 5 targets, 3 catches. That's what we need from him. So I think this is a great player prop. I think this is great value. Ramondre Stevenson has a 3 back down skill set, and this might be the week where he starts edging out Damian Harris for snaps. So yeah, this is going to be another prop that I take. Ramondre Stevenson, 2 receptions, smashing the over. I think he gets that easy. But now let's go back to the receiving yards. As I said, I don't want this video to be too long, but I want to give you guys good value. And speaking of good value, just remember the rushing yard prop that I forgot to go over that I like. And that's Leonard Fournette for 69.5 rushing yards. Now, Fournette, I know, was on the injury report this week. I think he should be good to go, though. He's labeled questionable right now. He's expected to play. After seeing what Cordero Patterson did to the New Orleans Saints defense and Marcus Mariota, as long as that hamstring doesn't get aggravated during this game, Leonard Fournette can easily hit this rushing prop, especially with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass catchers being banged up. Tom Brady, since becoming a Buccaneer during the regular season, being 0-4 against them, I can see them leaning more on the run. But, this is a risky play, given that he was limited in practice all week with that hamstring injury. All it takes is one run and that hamstring to get tight for him to come out of the game, and Rashard White taking over and finishing the rest of the game, right? Even though he was limited in practices, the report was that he was never in danger of missing this Sunday. So was that limited practice status all week more of a maintenance thing than actually he didn't have the ability to? We just don't know. So take that for what you will. But this may be this is a prop that I'm probably going to take, and maybe one of my riskier spreads that I do for one of my riskier parlays. All right, there is more, my friends. Kareem Hunt for 17.5 receiving yards. I can see that easily happening. Might not need to, though, with the Jets. I really don't think they're going to be able to stop the run at all. Yeah, this week has been some very good-looking weeks, or good-looking props. Like this one right here, Raheem Mostert for 4.5 receiving yards. Are you kidding me? That is great. Yeah. Give me that all day. Last week, he had 16 receiving yards. Like, I know they have Chase Edmonds. I know Chase Edmonds is the quintessential pass-catching back, but we did have the coaching staff come out after this game saying they wanted to get Raheem Mostert more involved. You know, he only had one target last week, but he took that one target for 16 yards. So let's say he only gets 2 targets this week. He can easily get 5 yards, right? Last week, they didn't have to really do too much. They whooped up on the Patriots. It was 20-7. So I don't expect it to be as easy for them this week. I mean, Baltimore, they're going to be coming out. They got the firepower. They got Lamar Jackson. They're going to have to throw this ball to keep up in this game. And Chase Edmonds can't catch all those passes out of the backfield, you know? So Raheem Mostert, talented back. He's still healthy. As long as he's healthy, Raheem Mostert can be a difference maker in fantasy. I think we just need to let it play out a little bit more this season. If he stays healthy for the entire season, I do think Raheem Mostert will be in your fantasy football starting lineups, the flex spot at the very least. But yeah, so this is definitely a player prop that I'm going to take right here. 4.5 receiving yards. I think that's easy money right there. Easy money. It's unfortunate that Michael Pittman is not playing in this game because Michael Pittman's receiving yards prop is like 69 yards, 69.5. And I was going to smash the over on that one. Got James Robinson here with 8.5 receiving yards. What did he do last week in the receiving game? Nothing. That was against Washington. That was a close game, so Etienne might be that exclusive pass catching back. Cordero Patterson with 20.5 receiving yards. Could see him hitting this one in this game, but I could also see Cooper Kupp for 95.5 receiving yards against the Falcons. This one could be dubious because will they need to throw that much on the Falcons, or will they just run this clock and run the ball on them because the Falcons are going to have a hard time stopping the run? Still, it's Cooper Kupp. I know seeking back-to-back 100-yard games or near 100-yard games, that's kind of risky business, but it's Cooper Kupp, man. So just look at the streak right here, dating back to last season. So the man eats. This is one I haven't made my mind up yet, but I want to mention it because I do think that getting 96 yards on the Falcons for the number one option in the Rams offense is a very achievable thing to have happen. But speaking of Rams, Darrell Henderson for 17.5 receiving yards. I really like this one. I mean, against the Buffalo Bills, he had 26 receiving yards. And let me take a look here and see what his targets were. Okay. Yeah, he had 5 targets. He secured all 5 of them. Yeah, man. If he gets 5 targets again against Atlanta, he's going to be getting over 26 receiving yards. I'll tell you that much. Dude can end up with 40, 50 receiving yards easy. So this is another player prop that I will definitely be smashing the over on. Darrell Henderson, 17.5 receiving yards, taking the over. That's easy money right there to me. That is easy money. Another player prop I like. I haven't seen anybody hardly talk about it. Not Jeffrey Wilson. Just wanted to check. See what he got last week for the receiving yards. But Will Dissly, 14.5 receiving yards. We saw Geno look Disley's way early and got the big touchdown in the first quarter. 43 receiving yards last week. I don't see why Geno would not look for him this week, especially against San Francisco, especially if the weather is inclement. He's going to be looking for his big body target to throw in the middle of the field where things are open, especially on third down when they need to move the chains. So I like Will Dissly to go over 14.5 receiving yards in this game right here. Okay. Javonte Williams with 20.5 receiving yards. This is another one that I like. I mean, last week, dude had 12 targets, 11 catches, 11 targets, something like that. 11 catches. Took it to 65 yards, man. With both him and Melvin Gordon fumbling, I expect the usage to be about the same. And, I don't expect him to get 11, 12 targets this week. But I do think 4, 5, 6 targets for sure. Very easily. I don't expect them to be trailing Houston like they were on the Seahawks. But, yeah, man. 2 catches with how explosive Javonte Williams is. 1 or 2 catches, he can take that to 21 yards. So I love this prop right here. I will be pitting it in this parlay. Javonte Williams, 20.5 receiving yards, taking the over. Okay. Devontae Williams, God bless Devontae Williams. Devontae Adams for 92.5 receiving yards. I'm taking the over on this one. I like it. I know that's a high yardage total, but man's had 15 targets last week or something like that, like an absurd amount of targets, accounted for like nearly 50% target share, and that was against the Chargers, who have a really stout defense, really good defense. Now they're going to be playing Arizona. They want to get a win because one loss in the AFC West is a big deal. Arizona was helpless against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. They could not stop anything that they were throwing at them. I don't expect the Raiders to be able to own Arizona quite as hard because, Derek Carr is not Patrick Mahomes, but Derek Carr is not a shitty quarterback either. So with the weapons that he has, he's good enough to get a lot of points in this game right here. I believe this game is one of the highest projected over-unders of the week, one of the top 5 or so. So with Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs catching some passes out of the backfield. Yeah, he's got the weapons, and I do not expect Derek Carr to have another multi-interception game this week. I don't think that Arizona even has the talent to pick him off, honestly. If they do, it's only going to be one time, most likely. So, taking the over on Devontae Adams for 92.5 receiving yards. Expect him to get 93 or more in this game for sure, especially with the Raiders having something to prove this week. They cannot go 0-2 in that division. I know the Arizona Cardinals don't want to go 0-2 either, but NFC West is not as competitive as the AFC West, so I think the Raiders are going to be more motivated to win this game. And then while we're talking about the Raiders, I also like Darren Waller, 50.5 receiving yards. He got going slow last week, and against the Chargers, he still threw up 79 yards. I don't believe Derek Carr looked his way very much in the first half at all, possibly not even the first 3 quarters. And they saw how that worked out for them. Once they started looking his way in that 4th quarter, that's when they started picking things up a little bit. I think that they are going to learn from that, and they need to realize that they need to get Waller going earlier in the game, along with Devontae Adams. And so I can easily see Darren Waller pitting up 51 or more receiving yards against the Arizona Cardinals, especially after looking what Travis Kelce did to them last week. I know Darren Waller is not Travis Kelce, but he is not far behind. Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in the league. So, yeah, I will be taking this in one of my mini parlays for tomorrow. Darren Waller, 50.5 receiving yards, taking the over. And you may have noticed that every one of these calls I've been talking about so far, I've been saying that I'm going to take the over. And that's because, I mean, there are props that I see where I'm like, I'd probably take the under on that. But more times than not, in my experience, taking the under is a riskier play than taking the over. I just feel like it's easier to be more predictable. Like, got Amadei Zaccheaus, right? Let's take him for example. Where is he at? Saw him earlier. Well, we have Amadei Zaccheaus, wherever he's at. I think he's projected for there we go, 24.5 receiving yards. And what did he do last week? He got 49 receiving yards last week. Okay, wow. But, Zaccheaus is a guy who I have watched for seasons show up and then disappear week to week. So, against the Los Angeles Rams, will he be able to get 25 yards or more? I don't know. But I'm not confident enough to take the under in that because it could easily happen the exact opposite way. Or with Allen Robinson, he didn't show up at all last week. But I do not expect that. He was on the field for almost every offensive snap. He ran over 40 routes. But will they need to throw the ball enough to have him get 49 yards or more? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But, I'm also not confident enough to take the under because Allen Robinson is too talented of a player to where if he does get 4 or 5 targets, let's say he turns that into 3 or 4 catches, he could easily turn that into 50 or more receiving yards. So I prefer at this stage to be going for overs instead of trying to determine who I think is not going to do as well as their projections, unless it's just an absurd projection. But so far I have not ran into any of those. So, looking here at the end, Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown, their receiving yards props. I keep going back and forth on taking the over. I might not touch these at all, but just want to mention them because I think this is going to be a great game on Monday night. The primetime games can sometimes let us down. It seems to be the primetime curse. But we'll see, But 97.5 receiving yards. Justin Jefferson was crazy open against the Packers. The Packers are supposed to be one of the better defenses. Are the Eagles' defense as good as the Packers' defense? I'm not sure. That remains to be seen. Same for the questions about the Vikings' defense. Was it really the Vikings' defense that held Aaron Rodgers in check, or was it just bad offense from Green Bay? I am inclined to believe that it was more the latter than the first, although I know the Vikings made some defensive upgrades and changes this year, at least they tried to. But A.J. Brown getting 76 receiving yards, I can see that happening. So these are 2 more props that I'm still considering, but I'm leaning closer to trying them out. And yeah, that's going to do it for the receiving totals. All right. There is a combo pass rush receiving that I really like. And that is that a lot of people. Okay, I like that. All right. So Javonte Williams, I like him to get a touchdown, either receiving or rushing this week. And God bless if he passed. something went wrong in the game, right? If Javonte Williams is getting a passing touchdown. But I think Javonte Williams is getting in the end zone this week He would have gotten it in there last week if not for the fumble in the 1 yard line. Same for Melvin Gordon. But I'm more confident in Javonte just because Javonte is, at this stage of their careers, more explosive than Melvin Gordon. So I could see Javonte getting a rushing touchdown or receiving touchdown in here. Same for Darrell Henderson. I could see him getting a touchdown against Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to have a hard time stopping them. And right now, this is Darrell Henderson's backfield. I have no reason to think that he's going to lose it anytime soon. Kareem Hunt, we saw what they did last week. He got 2 touchdowns last week. I expect him to get another touchdown this week against the New York Jets. This is another pass rush receptions touchdown prop that I love. Taking the over on all of these that I'm talking about here in this category. Leonard Fournette, since his hamstring is hurt, if he was completely healthy, I would definitely smash this really quick. With his hamstring being questionable all week, this is one that I'll have to think about long and hard to determine if I would like to take that or not. Looked at Fantasy Score. Didn't really see anything I liked too much. Fantasy Score is one of those that's kind of hard to predict. But there wasn't really too much that I wanted to get in here. So Trey Lance sitting at 17.5. Let's come down from 18. I don't know. I feel like these fantasy scores feel like they're a little too rich for my blood to take the shot on, in all honesty. As far as interceptions going, I kind of want to take this Tom Brady interception prop. I mean, he threw one last week. He has not performed well against New Orleans in his Tampa Bay career during the regular season. I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans gets a takeaway here, especially a division game. And that's the main one I like right there. I might like this Matthew Stafford one as well, just because he threw 3 picks against the Bills. Atlanta's defense looked good for 3 quarters last week, so there's a possibility that they could get them a takeaway right there. I just remembered a rushing yard prop that I did not go over, that I meant to, that I really like, and that's Saquon Barkley. 74.5 rushing yards against Carolina. We already saw what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did to them, and we saw how Saquon Barkley balled out against the Tennessee Titans last week to the tune of 164 rushing yards, touchdowns, 2-point conversions. Man went off. So I think that the New York Giants, riding that high, that feel-good wave of that win last week, I think they're going to come in. I think Saquon Barkley is back, and I think he's going to go off for more than 74.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to get 76 or 75 and above rushing yards. So I will be taking the over on this. Saquon Barkley, 74.5 receiving yards, taking the over. And with passing touchdowns, I actually like this Carson Wentz passing touchdown prop right here. 1.5 passing touchdowns for Carson Wentz. I can see that happening. It's against Detroit. Their defense isn't much different than Jacksonville. He threw up 4 touchdowns on them last week. I can see him getting 2 or more touchdowns in this game. So this is going to be another prop that I take right here. Carson Wentz for 1.5 projected passing touchdowns. Taking the over on that. Then you go into rushing touchdowns. I actually like both Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb. I would say Dalvin Cook as well, but Dalvin Cook got held in check pretty well by Green Bay last week, so I want to see him do some work before I put him back in my betting lineup, because I had him in some of my parlays last week and he let me down. Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb. I see them both getting in the end zone against Carolina and the New York Jets. So I'll be taking Saquon Barkley, 0.5 rushing touchdowns, taking the over. Nick Chubb, 0.5 rushing touchdowns. I'm taking the over. And I know Nick Chubb did not get into the end zone last week, but, this is the New York Jets. Carolina's defense is better than New York Jets' defense. So, as long as they don't go with Kareem Hunt every time they get down to the red zone, Nick Chubb's going to get him a touchdown this week. I could honestly see Nick Chubb ripping off a 70-yard touchdown run from their own 30 on 1st and 10, because he does that a few times this season, where he'll break it to that second level and he'll just rip and run and go. And Saquon Barkley, how explosive he looked last week, man. He was the best player on that field, and I expect him to once again, as long as Christian McCaffrey stays healthy and they actually use him and Christian will be the two best players on this field this weekend. So I can't wait to watch this game. This is going to be a good game. But yeah, taking the over on 0.5 touchdowns for both Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb. I think they're giving us some free money right there. Receiving touchdowns, all we got is Diggs, Jefferson, and Mike Evans. I actually like Jefferson. I would take Jefferson's. I'm unsure about the yardage total, although I think he could easily go off for 100 or more receiving yards. But I do not think that the Eagles will be able to keep Justin Jefferson out of the end zone. The man was so open on so many plays last week. And I know that the Eagles are going to be watching the tape of that and studying it, but I still don't think they'll be able to do anything about it. So I will be taking the over on that. I want to take the over on Mike Evans as well. I have to look at his health status before I make a decision on that, because he was also another person who's been on the injury report all week. He's questionable, but they're optimistic about his chances to play. Yeah, didn't log a full practice at all this week. Same goes for Russell Gage, Julio Jones. Chris Godwin is out. So, he led the wide receivers 5 catches on 7 targets for 71 yards and a touchdown last week. Marshawn Lattimore will be on him. And Marshawn Lattimore held Mike Evans to 3 catches, 62 yards across their 2 regular season games last year. So maybe actually, I'll stay away from this one. I'll probably end up eating my words. But, I have some season-long props going, and Mike Evans' touchdown season-long prop is one of the props that I'm playing. So hopefully he will get a touchdown, because that will still help me for my season-long. But this one is the one that I am the most confident in. Justin Jefferson for 0.5 receiving touchdowns, taking the over on that. And let's take a look back at the receptions right quick. Honestly, kind of like this one right here, Saquon Barkley. I think he had 86% of the running back plays last week, or it was upper 80%. So him having 6 receptions on how many targets? Let's take a look real quick here on the other screen. Yeah, 7 targets. Wow, 6 catches and 7 targets. Yeah. And this one they'll probably be scrapping this whole game like they were against the Tennessee Titans. So him getting some dump off passes could definitely be a thing. So I like Saquon Barkley to get more than 4 receptions here. So yeah, I'll take the over on that. That's a prop that I would not mind adding to my parlays. I'm just going to try to blast through these last little bits because we are encroaching an hour. And if you're still watching, I love you so much. Please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, join the DTF family because we're brand new here on YouTube and we want to grow the family to try to get as many people the dubs for their football fantasy teams, for their football bets here on PrizePicks or whatever DFS service you use. So yeah, baby, join the family. DTF Sports, baby. Dubs Team Fantasy. That's what the DTF stands for, because we're always going for the dubs. Okay, I already touched on Ramondre Stevenson for more than 2 receptions. I love that. I'm taking the over on Ramondre on this prop right here. Michael Thomas for 4.5 receptions. He had 5 against Atlanta last week. Tampa Bay is going to be a much tougher test. So I mean, I could see him getting maybe more than that. I don't know. I guess they were playing from behind all game last week, and all he got was 5 catches. So that might be one I stay away from, honestly. Cameron Brate for 2 receptions. Only had 1 reception last week, though. But if some of their wide receivers end up missing this game, the Cameron Brate definitely will get some more targets, some more looks. So keep an eye on what happens with Tampa Bay's receiving group, because if Mike Evans ends up being the only wide receiver that plays, Cameron Brate, this 2 receptions prop, definitely smashed the over on it. We already know that Chris Godwin's out. If Julio and or Russell ends up missing, Cameron Brate has to step up as the number 2-3 option. Kareem Hunt, 2.5 receptions. Could definitely see that happening right there. He got 4 receptions last week. Let's take a look at the other screen real quick and see how many targets did Kareem get last week. 4 targets, so he brought in all 4 of them. Okay, nice. Yeah. Kareem Hunt, 2.5 receptions. I like that. I'll take the over on it. Even though, it could end up being surprised. The Jets could surprise me, I just don't think that they're going to be scoring a lot of points, so there might not be a need to do some screens to Kareem Hunt. But if you're looking for some props, need to finish out another parlay spread, Kareem Hunt, 2.5 receptions. I think that's a good one to take for the over. Chase Edmonds for 3 receptions. Had 4 receptions last week against New England. They're going to be playing against Baltimore. Yeah, I could see him getting 4 receptions or more in this game if they did it on New England last week. So this is another one that I wouldn't mind taking the over on. Chase Edmonds, 3 receptions for the over. There's 1 receptions prop for Cordero Patterson that was really juiced on taking earlier in the day when it was only 2 receptions, but now it has been bumped up to 3, which is how many receptions he had last week. And he could easily go over this game because they're playing the Rams. It's an even tougher defense than New Orleans. They're probably going to be playing from behind a lot of the game, or at least the last half of the game. I really hope not, because I hope that the Falcons can come in here and pull off the upset. But yeah, I'm still contemplating if I want to take this or not. When it was at 2 receptions, I was going to smash the over and take it. I thought that was some easy money. Will he get 4 receptions? That is the question. Okay. There's another one I like. Darrell Henderson, 2.5 receptions. Had, bunch of targets last week, had 5 receptions last week. So I could easily see him getting 3 catches coming out of the backfield, or some dump offs for when Atlanta could bring some pressure. So make sure you add this into your parlays if you want to. This is, again, not giving you financial advice at all, but Darrell Henderson, 2.5 receptions. I like the over on that. But definitely not giving you advice. You do everything of your own free will. I'm not responsible for any financial gains or losses you may encounter, etc., etc. Will Disley for 1.5 receptions. I like the over on this. I mean, you already said that I liked his receiving yardage prop of 13.5 receiving yards. So yeah, I like Will Disley to get at least 2 catches in this game right here. especially if it's wet raining, raining down there in San Francisco. I see a lot of checkdowns to the running back and to the tight end in the middle of the field for Geno Smith if the weather's bad. Even if the weather isn't bad, I see Geno Smith using Will Dissly as a bit of a safety valve and getting him at least 2 catches. So I'm going to take Will Dissly for over 1.5 receptions. Javonte Williams, I think I might already touched on him, but I'm taking him for over 3 receptions. Don't expect him to have 12 targets this week, but I can easily see him having 5, 6, 7 targets. And so, with dump offs and screens, so 4 receptions, yeah, I like it. Taking the over on that one. Javonte Williams, 3 receptions, taking the over. I just want to go through a few more here. I know we're already at an hour. Did not intend for this video to be this long. I'm still trying to learn the formats, guys, like short videos, long videos. I guess I'll just start doing my favorite 5 props, perhaps, with no T. Higgins. Or is T. Higgins playing? Actually, I need to look that up. Let me look up on the other screen. Need to be more prepared as well, because these questions I do not have the answers to. T. Higgins is questionable. Okay. Questionable with that concussion. Had a limited practice session. He was full on Friday. Okay. Okay, so T. Higgins is playing. Even with T. Higgins playing, though, Joe Mixon had 7 receptions on 9 targets last week, 8 targets. So I like Joe Mixon to get over on here for the 3 receptions. So Joe Mixon, more than 3 receptions, take the over. Even the criticisms of Joe Mixon doesn't get enough passing game work. Joe Mixon still had 3-4 catches a game. So I don't know what people want out of Joe Mixon. It's not like he's about to go out there and get 8-9 catches a game, especially when he's a bell cow back. The Miles Sanders prop. The Philadelphia Eagles backfield, that's such a confusing one right there, man. I can see him getting 2 receptions in this game against Minnesota, though. And with the prop being 1.5 receptions, had 2 last week against Detroit. This is going to be a game where they're going to need to bring offense all 4 quarters. So this is one that I would take the over on. Miles Sanders, 1.5 receptions, taking the over. Okay, and that's about it right there for those. Field goal is made. In my opinion, betting on field goals is riskier because they don't have nearly as many chances to get their props as, let's say, a wide receiver or a running back or a quarterback or a tight end. But if there's any kicker here that I have the most faith in, it's my boy Young Wei Koo, or as we call him, Young Ho. 1.5 field goals made. Falcons kicked 4 field goals 3 or 4 field goals last Sunday. I feel like Falcons kick a lot of field goals. They struggle in the red zone. They can move the ball pretty well, though, but for some reason they struggle in the red zone, and so Younghoe often has opportunities to get us some points with the field goal. So if I take any kickers in my parlays this week, it's going to be Younghoe Koo over 1.5 field goals made. I think that the Falcons will be able to move the ball a little bit on the Rams and have Younghoe in field goal range more than once. And I wouldn't be surprised if they stall out in the red zone and have to kick the field goal out of necessity either. But yeah, that's the player props are there, baby. And we've gone through all of these, and those are the ones that I like. I will, in the future, when I'm doing these videos, I'll try to make them shorter. I'll try to just give you 3 or 5 picks and just make multiple videos, so that way they can be 10 minutes long and more easily digestible for people. But if you're still here, I love you. I appreciate you. Please smash that subscribe button, join the family. I'm trying to grow the channel. Hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of these player props. Tell me which ones you like, which ones you don't like. Tell me which ones that you're looking at playing for yourself. I want to get the discourse going so we can learn from each other and grow. And also leaving a comment, hitting the like button, subscribing. That helps the YouTube algorithm recognize us, recognize this video, and push it to more and more people so we can grow that family and get DTF Nation even bigger every day, baby. That's what we want. Dubs every day, growth every day. But I hope you enjoyed your time here. I will be back tomorrow night going over specifically props for the Monday night games, because I'm sure PrizePicks will have some Monday night game specific props loaded that they don't have right now. And then next week got rankings and start sits coming for week 3. Wasn't able to get to it this week because of work, but my working schedule has been able to flip it around, so going to be able to spend a lot more time here on growing this channel. So be sure to subscribe so that we can have all those videos at the tip of your thumbs when I upload them. Hit the notification bell so you'll stay in the loop on when I upload the videos. But until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Have a great fantasy football Sunday. If you put some money down on PrizePicks, hope you win your bets, and I hope we all walk away with the dub.